Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists podcast, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy, such as, I'm freestyling here,
Okay.
movies, shows, and games. We're bringing it back
Yes.
because today we're gonna actually talk about some games again.
That's
It's
right.
it's a whole new year, man. 2023. Pixelists are actually doing stuff
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean, we are halfway through the year almost, but yeah, that's true.
let me have this.
Okay. I did, typically, as is on brand with the Pixelist, all of a sudden, like before the intro, I thought, am I doing the intro? And then I was like, well, Will always does it. But then I remember we talked a second ago and you're like, hey, can you carry this part of the conversation? I was like, yeah. And I was like, but we were talking about the intro. And so I had like this mini, freak out. And then you started
Yeah,
going again. And I was like, oh, okay, we're good. He's got it. So anyway,
I got you.
yeah,
But how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling good today. It's been a very productive day.
Nice.
But I always like towards the end of the day start to like feel a little squeamish around like I have more things to do, but such a little time. Um,
Yeah.
so how are you?
I'm good. I'm having I mean, I've also had like a mostly productive day, so that's good, but I'm late on my coffee. It's
Ooh,
this is my first cup and it's 3 p.m., which is normally like I won't allow myself to have coffee after 3,
yeah.
but I hadn't had any yet today and I was like, "Well, I got to at least have my 1 cup." So,
You got to have
s-
a little decaf blend nearby.
yeah, you're so right. I need to.
That
I
way you can
keep like
have,
telling myself that
yeah, you can
and I
have
always
like
forget to buy it.
the joy of, the joy of coffee without the caffeine. I mentioned there's someone else by the way, and they like immediately were shut down. They were like, "What's the point?" It's like, I don't know. Then I just left. So, but
Hey, I mean, to each their own, I guess.
yeah,
The decaf has a little caffeine in it, right?
it does. Yeah, it still has a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah,
Which seems like it seems like how that they should get in trouble for that. Like,
yeah. You think they're
like what
cheating?
if somebody who's like allergic to caffeine or something? Like, yeah, decaf, please.
I think they'd have bigger concerns because there's a lot of food that I don't know if there's a lot of food actually. Just chocolate. That's what I think of. But anywho, all that to say,
Anyway,
thank you guys for tuning in to our episode today. Today's a little bit of a different conversation. We typically do our bread and butter is a lot of like TV and shows, and typically like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons in some way. But today, like Will mentioned, we're doing a little roundup discussion. Will and I, if you don't know, have been long life Blizzard players. I'm not going to speak for you. I wouldn't say long-term Blizzard fan because there's
right.
a lot that I'm disappointed in the company that I once loved, but definitely a long-term player. And I think this is important to say because I think last time we did a Blizzard video, someone had a harsh comment for, why are you talking about a game you don't even play? And I'll let you know we have abandoned many responsibilities to play Blizzard games.
Dude,
Uh,
as you were saying that, I don't know why this thought came to me, but I was just thinking, I was like, man, if you like tallied up all the time across all Blizzard games, it's probably like the most time I've spent doing anything in my life.
right.
Like
It's
if you could consolidate that, like I've probably done that more than sleep,
Yeah. I mean,
which is sad.
when I die and I like think about all that I accomplished, I'll probably be pretty sad about all the Blizzard games that I played. So,
Be
but yeah,
cool if there was like an achievement. Like you could
true.
look if you die, you look back on your achievements
True.
and you're like, oh wait, that's how many hours I spent.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You die like, isn't there an achievement? And they're just like, no, only shame here.
yeah.
So, all that to say, a little context. Will and I have played World of Warcraft since um, open beta stress test for vanilla WoW, maybe a little closed beta beforehand. I can't remember.
Changed my
Um,
life.
we've played a ton of Diablo, mostly Diablo 2. We've really played a ton of Blizzard games. We both played a lot of Hearthstone, but Will is an awesome streamer for Hearthstone Battlegrounds you can check out. All this to say, there's been a lot that's happening in the Blizzard space, mostly because Blizzard, a game making studio, hasn't really made a lot of games in the last several years. It's been kind of a weird situation, but there is a lot happening in the current world with Blizzard beyond just like the news you've probably heard of, which is some pretty bad stuff. some bad decisions they've made. All that to say, we just thought, you know what? Let's pop on an episode of the Pixelist and let's talk about some of these things. So today we're going to talk about the latest Diablo 4 beta, the server slam, our thoughts, and what we're thinking about release. We're going to talk about Overwatch 2 today, which, if you didn't hear the news about Overwatch 2, there is a lot to talk about Overwatch 2 and them scrapping the PvE mode. And then lastly, we're going to talk about World of Warcraft and their classic hardcore servers announced just this past weekend, which, well, I'm very curious to hear if you will hate yourself enough to give this a shot. So, all that to say, did I introduce everything okay, or is there more
Yeah,
to be said before we jump in?
I think that's it.
Okay, well, so this last weekend we played the Diablo 4 server slam. Since the last time we did a Diablo 4 video, we did like beta impressions. There's been a couple of dev live streams. There was one on the release of the game, and then there was one that was mostly focused on like the seasonal model and the battle pass. Let's just start with Diablo. What was any different takes on the game with the server slam versus the first time around that you played?
Um, yeah, but quick disclaimer, I think if you're interested in our like more in-depth thoughts, and obviously they're slightly outdated now, but Blake and I went way deeper than I imagine we're gonna go
Right.
today
Yeah.
in our last Diablo video. So maybe check that out. Maybe we'll link it or something. But again, some of it's outdated because it was, a while back. Anyway, yeah, I had a pretty different experience this time through, mostly because for the last one, I
Your
only got
character
to jump.
blew this
Well,
time.
I only got. Well, that's. I'll get to that too. But for the last beta, I only got to play like one day of it. It was like a whole weekend, I think. But I only, with my schedule at the time, only had one day where I could really dive in, and I was
Mm.
trying to just kind of rush so that I could. Were there any like achievements for that first beta? Because I felt like I
Yeah,
was working towards
it
something,
was
but
the
I don't remember
same
what it
ones
was.
as this one, except without the Ashava kill one. So like
Okay.
entering Kyovashad, getting to like max level, I think we're the two. So
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. I was trying to get to level 25, which was the max, and so I was just kind of rushing and trying to get that done. And I had a good time, but I didn't really get to like stop and smell the roses, as it were. Um, so to this time, I had much more time to play it. So I got to stop and smell the roses, and it was fun. I did try a new character, which, as Blake alluded to, was a bit weaker than the character I played in the first time around, but it was still a bunch of fun. And
you
I
played
don't
a
know if we're gonna.
you played a Sork the first time. This time was a Necro, which had gotten
Yeah,
heavily nerfed. There were a lot of nerfs, by the way, guys, for this version. But anyway, continue.
yeah. So yeah, like the first time I played a Sork, which were all also pretty overpowered, I think, for that beta at the time.
Yeah.
So this time around, I wanted to try something different, and so I tried the Necro, um, which it was still fun and it was still strong enough. I don't know if we're gonna have like different segments, so I'll just go ahead and say it now.
Yeah.
My one issue with it was, I was a summoner necromancer, and 90% of the time it was fine, but on boss fights, as a solo player at
Mm.
least, the boss just pretty much one shots your minions, and my ability that summoned corpses was very slow, and so
Yeah.
you could not maintain hardly more than one or two minions after your first wave were just wiped
Yeah.
out. But not on boss fights. There's corpses everywhere, so that wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was fun. We got to kill a Shava, which I didn't get to
Yeah.
do the
Right.
first time around, and that was really cool. And yeah, I'm excited for the release for sure.
Yeah. Let's do a little side conversation here for a sec. So you had, and this is a bit unrelated, you had the summoner that couldn't actually summon, which was, I think, a mechanical issue that I know they buffed summon specifically a little later into beta, but this has also been somewhat true for just summoner builds across a lot of ARPGs. What's your take, just as an aside, on do you think it's okay that there are builds that can't complete certain parts of content? Should every build be able to do all forms of content? Um, Basically, bottom line, if we get to release and summoner builds aren't doable beyond like generic gameplay, do you think that's okay?
That's tough because I don't really know. I feel like I would have an answer for that question in Path of Exile because I'm much more familiar. Even though I haven't
Yeah,
played it in a while, like I'm much more familiar with that system compared
that's
to
fair.
D4. Like I
Yeah,
only know the little bit I've seen from Act One. But so in general, I would say that every build does not need to be able to do everything because that's kind of the fun of these types of games. Is like you want to specialize to be like, oh,
yeah,
this character is going to be great at bosses.
yeah,
This character is going to be great at clearing dungeons by just speed running through and
right.
killing all the little mobs quickly. I think that's
Yeah,
fine. Um, but I think the issue with the summoner here is kind of outside of that argument and more so like this fundamental part of this class like can't function
yeah.
here. So I guess that's kind of like a thin line between the
No,
two
yeah, it's a
things you were
great
saying,
answer.
but
Yeah. And then moving on to Ashava. So for those who didn't play, there was a cosmetic reward for any. It's a one-time cosmetic reward. You can't ever get it again. But well, they didn't say that actually. I guess they could put it in the cash
the
shop. Who
yeah, it'd be
knows?
$20 in the cash shop.
But you had about, I think, 9 chances to kill a Shava to get the mount trophy. There was some salt on the Diablo subreddit from
I
people
saw that.
who tried it a few times and didn't get it and felt, I guess, cheated or scammed. Um, what's your take on that?
I mean, you and I both got it, so it's easy to
Yeah,
sit on this other side
yeah,
of the fence, but like I understand their frustration. I don't really know if it's like the point was it was like a prestige thing though, right? So I don't
right.
know like how you please everyone, but for those of you listening, Blake and I, one of the first times we tried to do it, we failed.
Pretty
And
badly.
it's mostly because I mean, I'm sure we have some, culpability in it, I'm sure, but it was
No,
also
it can't
because
be my fault. In my defense, we did have someone with us who was level 14, which
yeah, we had someone with us that was level 14 and not to get to the meat of dissecting how this game works, but it's kind of open world esque in that you go there and there could be other people that you're not even grouped with or anything that are just there, like they're
right.
phased in. And we kind of had bad luck with other people showing up. We only had like I think one or two other people.
Yeah.
Um, so it was just for our circumstances, it was basically undoable.
Right.
Now, thankfully, we got to try again at the next time the boss summoned, and we had a bunch more people, all level 20, and it was easy, basically. Um, so I just, if you're not the type of person that had the freedom to try every 3 hours, which most people probably don't, if you're not like,
Yeah.
a kid,
Right.
would surely be frustrating if you had like one chance and it was like that time you and I had it first, where
Yeah.
just the cards were
That's
stacked
it.
against you and you
Yeah.
really couldn't do it. So I would too be extremely frustrated if that had happened to me, but I don't know what the answer is. Like,
Right.
it so what about you? What are your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I definitely, when we failed the first time, I was like, bro, I just know we're not going to get this. Like, I mean, we grinded pretty hard though between the two boss spawns. Like, I knew I was contributing more the second time around. Um, I think it's just the nature of games today. I think Blizzard probably should have Mother's Day weekend made it very difficult to
Yeah.
have time out for that. I will say separately, and this is, I think, a different conversation point that we can transition into. Um, there is a lot of criticism about this game on the Diablo subreddit specifically. And some of it I think is fair in terms of like apprehensions or people who are like, I don't know about that. Some of it I think is preference. So, for example, like the font, there was like a big outcry about the font. I didn't really care, it didn't bother me. I do think the new font's way better, and I like the new font.
Mm.
But then there's like this level of criticism that I keep seeing where I'm like, maybe you just shouldn't play this game. And it's not to exclude anyone, but like one example was I saw like on their latest lore video, the Book of Lorath Chapter 1, which I don't know if you watched it.
Mm-mm.
Someone commented that um, how much they hated Diablo because you encounter bandits in the game, and how does it make sense that there's actually like bandits roaming around like when there's all these demons or something to that effect. And they're like, I'll never trust Blizzard. And I was like, okay. And you get that kind of stuff like everywhere, but it feels like on the Diablo subreddit, like it's like amped up just a hair where, it's beyond just opinion. It's like, okay, I just don't know if this game's for you then. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I Yeah, like you said, it feels like that's just going to come with the territory a bit. Because, like, if the people having fun with the game aren't going to post on Reddit, they're playing the game.
sure.
Whereas, so I don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely room to criticize Blizzard for sure,
Oh
and
yeah.
Diablo, I mean, as well. But I don't know. The game's not even out yet.
Right. And it could
Um,
be a month from now where like this game blows. Like this
yeah.
game sucks. We haven't experienced the seasonal model yet. Which, speaking of, for our listeners, they did announce the details of their seasonal model. The long and short of it is 4 seasons a year, purely cosmetic battle pass, and that you'll spend, if you buy every season's battle pass, you'll spend between $40 to $100 per year. It's $10 or up to $25 per battle pass. What's been your reaction to the seasonal model? Because this was one thing we left out of our last discussion. We said, well, I don't know how I feel about this. Let's wait till they have the dev stream. What's your reaction, especially when we think about like how common it is, like predatory practices, things are kind of anti player. What's your take on everything that's come out with that?
Well, yeah, I know you're way more informed on this than I am, so you might have to remind me how it works. But I there's like two things, right? There's like a battle pass, and then there's like a premium battle pass. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. There's the free battle pass that everyone gets that will
Mhm.
have some cosmetics, but then there's like a level of more cosmetics that's in the paid version.
And then there's another tier, right? Where it's
Right.
like you get bonus levels and one additional thing. It's
Yeah.
an emote.
An exclusive cosmetic to that
Yeah.
tier.
I mean, it doesn't sound terrible. Like par for the course with games these days. They
Right.
monetize like this. So they're not doing anything like, at least not that I can tell yet, that's like, like even more predatory than is normal. So I think if that remains to be the case, then it's probably fine. Um, I personally don't plan on getting the battle passes, but I say that now. If I get like addicted to this game and I'm playing it all the time and I
Yeah.
want those shiny cosmetics, then maybe I will. I really don't see myself ever buying the like ultra premium one,
Right.
especially if it's just a single like emote that you get. Like
Right.
that doesn't entice me. So I mean, again, we'll see what they do. But if that stays the model, then I don't think that's too bad.
Yeah. I feel similarly. I also don't think I would spend money on it. I would prefer a model where, like there was in Fortnite, you complete the battle pass, you have enough currency to buy the next one, like in-game
Yeah,
currency.
yeah. Are
Um,
they going to have any type of?
they said that you'll earn the currency to buy part of the next battle pass, but it's not enough to buy it in full.
So what else would you spend that currency on, though? Are they going to have
I have no idea.
shops that have
Yeah, I don't
stuff
know.
like? Interesting.
Yeah, not sure.
Seems like they probably will if they're including currency as a
Yeah,
reward.
right.
There must be something to spend it on besides the battle pass.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting.
Well, anything else to discuss about Diablo?
um, Not really. I'm excited for the full release, and yeah, if any of you guys play, let us know.
Yeah.
Um,
One tiny thing that I just remembered, they did tune down the drop rates of items for this one. Um, Reactions on that. I don't know if you noticed the first time around, but I know for me, like I would do a dungeon and get a couple of legendaries, and it was pretty easy by the end of the first beta to have all legendaries in every slot. Granted, disclaimer: this was up to level 20. It's Act 1. Who knows? Who knows how it scales? But I think I had maybe one on my character by the end of beta. Reactions to that, or
yeah. So like I said, I didn't play very much in that first beta, so I don't even know if I got a single legendary in that first one. So I didn't really have anything to
yeah,
compare it to.
so
But
like it's
like,
business as usual.
yeah, but no, playing with you and some of the other people we were playing with, I knew about what the drop weights were. Like for a Shava, I got one legendary, and I think you were telling me you got like
Yeah,
nine last
yeah,
time or something
right,
crazy like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, you opened up your
So
catch for killing it and you got like a couple of gems.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, more to discuss when the game finally drops. We'll have more conversation on the channel. Let's move into talking about probably the meat of today's episode, Overwatch 2. And for our listeners, Overwatch 2, the developers have announced that they are cutting the PvE mode, which, just to bring you up to date, if you're not a big Overwatch follower or fan, essentially you had Overwatch 1, which had massive fanfare, incredible fanfare. And then a few years into development of, or the continued live service of Overwatch 1, they basically, this isn't fair, but basically announced they were putting Overwatch 1 into basically maintenance mode. And they basically said, we're not going to do any more characters, any new heroes, because we have Overwatch 2 that we want to do. And the big thing about Overwatch 2 was they wanted to have a big PvE mode. Every hero has like its own hero trees, progression, things like that. Overwatch 2 released and didn't have that mode. And finally, after many questions like, where is this mode? They announced yesterday it's been totally scrapped and it's not coming whatsoever. And Will, I don't know. I think you said before we hit record that you weren't, you knew the headline, but you weren't following the details too closely. So for our audience's sake, maybe I'll hit a couple other like sub points of this conversation. There was an interview that GameSpot did with the lead developers of this game, and basically asked like, what happened, like why are you scrapping it? And much of the community is pretty upset by the answers, because the answers are basically like, yeah, we started to make this mode and we didn't realize how hard it was going to be. We didn't realize it would be something, we've never made a PvE mode before and we didn't know how to do that. And we weren't making any live service updates to the game, and players were frustrated. So finally, we just scrapped it, which really frustrated people. And then another kind of sub conversation that wasn't in this interview was one big change between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2. Overwatch 1 had the loot boxes that the game would shower you in. I played pretty casually and I had around 300 loot boxes that I never opened because it was fun to see how high I could stack them up. Overwatch 2 got rid of those and moved to a battle pass direct cash purchase model. So they totally changed the shop model. And some of the conversation has been around, was Overwatch 2 really just a move to change over the monetization of the game? All that to say, let's bring it back to the original headline. Pretty big announcement from Blizzard about Overwatch. What was your immediate reaction, Will?
What's the point? Because aren't they also like, there's like a super watered down PvE? This is what I heard, and again, I don't know that much. That's still going to be in the game through a battle pass. I heard something about that.
I don't know. Sorry, my nose is itching. I don't know. There are PvE modes, like limited time events, that are pretty fun. They had an Overwatch 1. I don't know like what the pacing has been for Overwatch 2. So I don't know if that's what's being referenced with that. As far as I know, PvE as like a separate game mode, like a permanent game mode, has been scrapped completely. But
Yeah.
maybe they've dialed back and said, well, no, we're gonna have a bare bones. They've made it clear they're not. This isn't like a feature coming next
Right.
year. Like it's dead. Um, so
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard as well. I just, and people, like, it wasn't like, I just know that like the kind of adding insult to injury was like this watered down, not what was promised at all. Probably like what you're referring to from Overwatch 1, that type of stuff. That you'll still have, but you'll have to buy the battle pass for it. So it's kind of just like
yeah.
a anyway, again, maybe I'm mischaracterizing that. But to the larger story, I played Overwatch 1, not very much. I'm not a huge like shooter games guy. Um, I like the occasional, but didn't play it too much because of that. When Overwatch 2 came out, I knew about this PvE thing and I was like, that I'm excited for. Like that I'll try it. I think sounds really fun. So I have yet to play a single game of Overwatch 2 because that mode wasn't in it yet, and I wasn't too
Mm.
itching to play it otherwise. So this is a big disappointment to me. But that's coming from like the most casual Overwatch enjoyer. So I can only imagine how like people who like actively support and play the game all the time feel, unless they just didn't care about that.
Well, I think the diehard fan is crushed because it's probably, hey, Blizzard, why are you ruining this game that I love? It's
Yeah,
like, it's kind of like what when you think about WoW as, which I play WoW regularly. I know you don't play it too much anymore, but there's definitely been seasons of WoW where we've been like, Blizzard, just like stop, please. Like we
yeah,
want to enjoy WoW. Yeah, if I'm the hardcore Overwatch fan, I would assume I'm pretty angry and upset and kind of tired of like this sort of like habitual trend from Blizzard of not really knowing how to make games anymore, not really seeming to like have any kind of like process. Because a lot of what also was in this interview was the devs talking about like, oh, we didn't realize how much work it would be. We didn't know how many resources it would take. And the interviewer, who I read a Reddit comment that was like, the interviewer was like an Overwatch player and was actually just like really pissed off. But the interviewer was like, well, I mean, you've made games for years. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean you didn't know? Like, what's different? And they gave kind of this like boilerplate, like, well, game development's hard. Which I'm not saying it's not. I know it is. But they were like, you're not just shipping a software for a bank. I mean, it can change and there's iterations and it's just a lot of work, man. And it was kind of like, yeah, that's game development. Like, I don't know. It was just a very disappointing conversation. And
yeah.
yeah, it's
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 like you should have known. Like, then why did you say you were gonna do it?
yeah.
Like, yeah. And that wasn't that you kind of alluded to this, but wasn't that the whole point of ending Overwatch 1 and merging to this Overwatch 2 because like, it's gonna have a whole new PvE mode. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that was one of the main selling points because people were like,
Yeah.
why are you gonna make us buy a new game and ship this over? Like, why aren't you just updating Overwatch?
Yeah.
So I don't know what their excuse is now if they're not even gonna
I mean,
fulfill that promise.
personally, I think it's what I mentioned in the intro to the episode, that you have a game development studio that doesn't make games. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Diablo Immortal was the first game they released, which Diablo Immortal, a very scummy anti-player game. I wouldn't say it's anti-customer because I mean it is, but they've made their money from some saps, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but before Diablo Immortal, it had been like 6 or 7 years before they had released a standalone game. Like, that's insane in today's world where, I mean, I think if Activision can release a Call of Duty every year, which I mean, they're all basically the same, but 7 years for a company
Yeah.
of their size to not have any games, to me, Overwatch 2 felt like we need to ship something. Let's make Overwatch 2. And it's not unlike, I feel like, what Destiny did with Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, also at the time under Activision Blizzard, where some
Yeah.
of the post split conversation that came out was that they wanted just to iterate on Destiny 1, and Activision Blizzard was like, no, like we need a Destiny 2 because that's what sells. That's a great marketing thing. So all that to say, it just feels like corporate greed, and we need Overwatch 2. And I'm frankly not surprised.
Yeah. And the one game that they did put out aside from Diablo Immortal was their remake of Warcraft 3, and that was a dumpster fire. So like,
Yeah, I refunded it
what are
actually.
they doing over there?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
it makes me nervous for Diablo, Like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, for
like we were
sure.
just talking about, we had fun, but like,
Oh, for sure. You
yeah.
should be nervous, I feel like. I mean, this company sucks. I mean, it's separately, there was a tweet from a WoW dev a couple weeks ago that basically said there is so much turnover in their WoW team that they are actively like ditching content and be like, well, we can't ship that piece. We can't do that. We don't have enough of a timetable to like really manage that. And they're basically like looking at a whiteboard and being like, okay, what can we do and what can we not do? Um, this was a studio that I feel like the dream job was to work at
Yeah.
Blizzard.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just bad leadership, bad management. And I know we are all super optimistic about Microsoft taking over, but I don't know.
Yeah, they've just been. I mean, you already said it, so I'm just gonna say it in a different way, I guess. But yeah, they've just been milking the established franchises that got them to where they are today for like just beating that horse
Right.
bloody and decrepit without trying to do anything new. And I
Yeah.
think it's just like I don't know, it's just sad. Which I mean, I hope Diablo 4 is great. If and we're gonna talk a little bit about WoW later. But I mean, Diablo 4 is technically new, but that is still just kind of a refreshed IP, um, proven model. I don't really have hope for Blizzard doing anything new and exciting, honestly. Like, I think it'll be a completely different company that, comes in and innovates and,
Mhm.
makes something fresh.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think people are ready for that company.
yeah.
A company that will put the customer first, the player first, rather. Because I think it's really interesting that it seems like a lot of companies these days have thought to themselves, I have to choose profits or customer enjoyment, player
Mhm.
enjoyment. And, Blizzard literally built itself into a massive organization because of how much they focus on the quality of their games. Um, so it is possible to have both. And I guess we just have to, someone save us. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Facts, man. And yeah, I hope hopefully this goes without saying, but none of our I don't vitriol seems too strong a word 'cause I don't think we're vitriolic, but none of our um, complaints, I don't know, go against the actual people making these games. Because, like you said, that was like a dream job. Like the art, like and that's like the best part of most Blizzard games is like the artwork and the ambience and the
mm,
music. So like all the people actually like working and making these games, no beef with them. They're just
yeah,
doing their job. Like the people that working on Overwatch 2 that probably put a lot of work into whatever PvE mode they had before they had to scrap it. I just feel bad for them because it's not their fault that any of this is happening. It's just like you said, the suits
yeah,
on the top floor trying to milk us for all we're worth.
yeah. Well, moving on from Overwatch, the last bit of conversation today. WoW, the classic WoW team announced this last weekend that there are official hardcore servers coming to Classic WoW. This has been sort of like a niched. There's been a lot of fanfare around watching people's deaths in an unofficial way of where someone like decides they're going to do like the Iron Man challenge, or effectively they're going to play the game as if they only had one life, and if they die, they have to delete their character. There's been a lot of trolling where like a rogue of the opposite faction will hide under the quest NPC, so they get clicked on and PvP gets enabled, and then they can then kill the player. All this to say, Blizzard announced there will be official hardcore servers where if you die, the character is done, cannot be revived. Um, are you going to play?
I mean, it sounds interesting. Like I feel like I would at least try it because classic is what I love.
Mhm.
So I would be down to have like a fresh reason to play that, and I would assume there would be a lot of lifeblood, like a lot of life returned to the game. So like it would be, I would hope at least like an active, popular server and not just like a ghost land.
Right.
Um, so would I like, go hardcore, like no pun intended, but like would I be hardcore about it? I don't know, but I would definitely at least check it
Yeah.
out just to see like how they officially implement it. Because the thing that's gotten a lot of traction recently is there's like a specific add-on that everyone's using, right?
Yeah. Right. Where it
Where like
shows how they
yeah,
died and what their last message was, which is
yeah, and
what's
there's like go
I was
ahead.
gonna say that's what makes it like kind of fun. That's why there's been so much
Yeah.
fanfare. Is someone there was one that was posted of a guy who found like a crawl blade or not a crawl blade, maybe a crawl blade, but like a world BOE epic, and their last thing was I can't wait to sell this later or something like that.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
yeah,
So I actually I haven't been playing WoW, so I have not personally played with that add-on. Have you tried it?
No, I don't think I have the appetite for hardcore after years of being bullied by
Oh,
PoE.
come on, man. Come on, man. So that being said, I don't know the exact like rule set. I know there's different. I know you can do like duos if you want, which means like you could be paired with another hardcore character, but in most cases it's like a solo experience, which means like you can't group with anybody, you can't trade with anybody.
Right.
So I'm curious for the official launch what
Right.
Blizzard's rules are going to be. Like, will
Right.
you be allowed to party with people? Will you be allowed to trade with people? But I do think it's really cool that presumably this will be like an enforced thing, which I don't know how that add-on worked, but it seems like you could probably cheat. You know, like does the add-on know if you traded with somebody? You know, does
I don't know about that, but I do know for your death you could appeal it, and that's also some of the criticism of of like unofficial hardcore servers is like the endless amounts of appeals.
Mhm.
Of the flight path bugged and I fell off my griffin and died. Like some legitimate and some not so legitimate. I auto ran an iron forge into the lava pool and didn't know
Yeah,
like I shouldn't be dead. Um, so I don't know exactly how that works. I do think you make a great point though of how much will Blizzard lean into this because the typical Iron Man challenge, like you said, is basically solo self found.
yeah,
Um, which it would be interesting if there is even a server that is that. Like with Path of Exile, you have the hardcore servers and then you have hardcore solo self found servers. I don't. I've never known Blizzard to be as like player friendly in terms of options in that way, but it would
yeah.
be interesting if there was like the ultimate challenging mode. And I just imagine like 40 of those people, like the only time they group together is when they're 60 and they go kill KT, or I don't know. It would be a bit wild for sure.
Yeah. So I definitely would want to check it out. Like I said, we would need to see what official rules they're implementing and how it exactly would work. But so like group play might not even be a thing, but I assume it will be. But I think it would just be fun, you know, if we had like a couple of us, you know, and you just had to be like that intentional and that careful, I guess, you know. It just would add another layer of freshness to classic, which is what I enjoyed the most
Sure.
anyway. Kind of an excuse to dive in again. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, like you mentioned, we've both played Path of Exile hardcore, and that's just like it's brutal, but like low lows, but also because of that, some high
Yeah.
highs. Like it would just be cool to like, you know, I don't not I don't ugh, I
I
mean,
just,
never say never, but like I just can't imagine even doing a raid.
yeah.
But even just doing some like 5-man dungeons, I think would be really fun.
I have like a very like specific memory of you dying in PoE and then just like silence and just being like, and be like, are you going to play again? I don't know, man.
Gosh, dude,
I think I'm going to
one
go.
there's so many deaths in hardcore, but one that sticks out is like painful, just because it was so preventable. Is that I
Yes.
like went into a map
I already
and I
know.
went AFK.
Yeah.
And I thought at the start of the map, right next to the portal, nothing would happen to me. And I had like just reached in game, just gotten like my gear and my gym
Yeah.
set up, and I was about to like play the game, start the game. And I came back and I was dead. And I was just so depressed.
Yeah. I remember I was talking about it. I was like, why did you do that? And you were like, I just thought, you know?
Thought the start of the dungeon was safe.
Yeah. Nope. So it'll be interesting bringing it back to our original conversation if they have any kind of like solo self found for even Diablo. I guess they'll see kind of what people think. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
any go ahead.
I or are you interested? Are you gonna check it out?
No,
If you're not,
no,
not at all.
no,
Why not, man?
no. I
Even if like we're all doing it.
if we're all doing it, I'll do it with everybody, like just for fun, but I'm not gonna get like emotionally invested in it.
Oh man.
And this isn't like when I said I wasn't gonna play the Burning Crusade and I did like 2 raids a week and played every day, you know. But yeah, I just don't see it. I just think I don't think I have the patience anymore or like the gaming aficionado to like really go into something like that. Especially now that I have kids and like my game time's so much more like consolidated. I just have like this sick feeling of like playing it and trying it for like a month and then like dying into something totally preventable and being like, what did I do with my life this last month? So
I get it, I guess, but
Don't try to talk
I
me into it.
I
I'm not
just
gonna
think it'd
do
be
it.
fun. My next question doesn't matter anymore because that's how you feel. But I was going to ask what class you think you would
I
play.
definitely would not do warrior.
Yeah, that would be hardcore, hardcore.
I just have so many memories of leveling a warrior and like trying to pull a mob and like pulling like 3 or 4 mobs around and being like, no, and just dying.
Yeah,
Probably a mage would be my guess. Mage.
yeah,
I'm thinking of everything that has like combat escape. Mage, rogue, hunter. Which with mage, there's just so much utility there to get out of combat.
right.
But yeah, mage, rogue, hunter would be probably one of the 3 that I would play. What about
Yeah.
you?
I mean, I would want to do rogue, but like you don't get vanish till like level 20. So you'd have to make it that far at least. And I mean, even that doesn't save you all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Paladin, you don't get bubble hearth till level 50.
what?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Don't you get bubble way earlier than that?
No,
Just
you
not
get
long
the
enough.
divine shield, the half damage one earlier.
What?
Yeah.
That's not true. You get bubble at like level 10,
No.
don't you? Yeah. And
No.
maybe it doesn't last 10 seconds, so you can't hearth in it. You definitely get bubble before
Here,
level
I'll
50.
I'll look it up real quick, okay?
At least
Um,
in classic. Maybe you're thinking about like
hang on.
post classic.
Divine shield classic. Wow, classic. Let's see what level you learn it. Um all right, level 34. I was
What?
wrong.
No. You get it at like level 10.
You do not get it at level 10.
It's like it only lasts like 5 seconds though.
No, this is rank 1, level 34.
Well, my quick Google says level 18.
Well, you're probably looking at like retail WoW. Are you looking at
Maybe.
classic WoW?
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. Anyway, the either way,
Oh,
paladins.
this one says level 50. Oh wait, how long is the hearth? How long is the hearth?
It's like 10 seconds.
Okay, so I think at level 34 you get rank 1, which is a 10-second span. Rank 2 is at level 50, which is 12 seconds. So maybe with bubble and then clicking Hearthstone, you have to have rank 2 to do it. Or hope you get lucky, I guess.
All right. Well, I'm looking at some patch notes here.
Oh, give me a
And
break.
it says It says 2020 though, so it wasn't that long ago. But it says now learned at level 10 was level 18.
No, where are you reading?
Wowpedia.
No, dude. Read classic Wowhead, classic Wow.
All right.
You
Well,
gotta go to the source.
all right. Well, either way, even if they don't get it, they have a lot of ways to survive. Like even if they can't 100% assure their survival by bubble hearthing,
It's
they've
definitely
got.
not. It's definitely not the case because 2020 patch note, the game came out in 2004. That's
All
16
right.
years later.
That's what I said, but it
Okay.
says it was level 18. So
No.
anyway, I just remember people bubbling like 15 years ago when we played dueling in like Elwyn Forest.
Yeah, at 60 they bubbled.
No, no. Low level duels, low
All
level
right.
duels.
All right. Whatever.
Anyway, also warlocks I think would be pretty good with the pets, but
Yeah.
way squishier.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we did do it, it would depend on what everybody else was doing because I would
Right.
want to try to have like a group we could do stuff with, but I don't know who is going to tank.
Yeah. I
Um,
wouldn't want to do that
yeah,
unless I had an amazing healer,
yeah, that'd be stressful.
So, all right.
But yeah.
Well, let us know what you guys, if you're going to play it, if you're going to try it, and also let us know your thoughts on Diablo and Overwatch in the comments. And yeah, we'll see. I guess our next video on this subject will be about Diablo once we finally play the game, or when classic hardcore servers drop. Maybe we'll give it a spin, and give you guys an update. So, anything else, Will, we should talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thumbnail ideas.
Hmm. Uh,
We can just do
not sure.
we can just do like maybe like either a look of like or like yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to think about, I guess. All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you
Beautiful.
guys for tuning in today. We'll be back. Probably our next video will be on either Critical Role, Ravening War, or Worlds Beyond. So stay tuned for that. We'll catch you
Yep.
later.
Have a good one, y'all.
See ya.